Yes, ma'am. And with respect to the 6:14, so do not be yoked together with unbelievers. No?
Oh,
So
yeah.
every day we see. So because I know we didn't touch it. Anyway, every day we in a daily walk of life we see definitely we see people from other faiths, right? So from daily work, from the starting from the people who serve us, the servants who serve us, people who wash our clothes, people who just do all sorts of work around us, right? So we see in some cases children were saved, the parents were not saved, right? So how to strike a balance between how to, because every day throughout our work we will be completely surrounded by I think if you see in corporate only one person will be the entire team of entire account. Only one person will believe, all 100 people around him will be unbelievers. So definitely he has to take his entire walk, maybe entire journey throughout his life with people from other faith, right? So how to strike a balance and how to do some don'ts.
Yeah. See, I actually had this slide, but then for want of time, I just skipped it thinking it's a minor point. But thank you so much for bringing it up. It makes me feel a lot more complete that I'm finishing this slide as well. So two slides to kind of unpack the idea of association with unbelievers or dissociation with unbelievers. And then if your question is still unanswered, I'll try to answer it in a sharper way. But I think these points will clarify mostly what you're trying to ask. So association with unbelievers, what is Paul saying? Paul was not saying that Christians should break off all associations with unbelievers. Okay, we know that very clearly from 1 Corinthians 5 and 1 Corinthians 10 also. He had previously encouraged a saved partner. You remember that argument from marriage about marriage being married to an unsaved person that we did a couple of weeks back. He had previously encouraged a saved partner in a mixed marriage to maintain the marriage relationship as long as possible and not initiate a separation from his side. So Paul is definitely not recommending, a blanket dissociation with all unbelievers. Okay. Second, third, he also had urged his fellow Christians as ambassadors of Christ to evangelize to the lost specifically. Okay. One of Paul's missions was this. Rather here, what Paul was commanding the Christians form no binding interpersonal relationship with non-Christians. Let me repeat that again. Paul was commanding that Christians form no binding interpersonal relationship with non-Christians. The other part is very important, that resulted in their spiritual defilement. Okay, no binding interpersonal relationship with non-Christians that would result in their spiritual defilement. Next, this is an extension to human beings of the principle underlying the prohibition against breeding or yoking an ox and a donkey together. Okay, such alliances, Paul says, can prevent the Christian from living a consistently obedient Christian life. Now, what's important for us to understand the background context is even urban Roman colonies understood quite well the custom that one could not be friends with a friend's or patron's enemies. Okay, so Paul was using this also very cleverly and using this analogy of being unequally yoked. Next, it's also very important when we look at the whole counsel of God that the idea of separation runs through the entire Old Testament and equally through the New as well. God's children are ever a separated and a separate people, whether we like it or not. There is no other way to put it mildly, because the word holy, of course, the secondary meaning of the word holy is moral purity. The primary meaning of the word holy is to be set apart. We have to be set away from. We are to be in some sense separated. Okay. However hard it may be, it will always remain true that there are certain things a man cannot do and be a Christian. So here Paul is not, lock, stock and barrel telling, hey, don't even sit next to a non-Christian colleague in office. don't shake hands with him, don't unfriend him on Facebook, or don't follow him on Instagram. He's not saying any of that. Of course, he wants us to be relational. If we are not relational, how will then they hear the gospel, and how will they be saved? Okay, so he's not talking about a relationship that will flow from us to them. What he is speaking about is speaking about a form of close binding, okay, interpersonal binding, in which the effects of spiritual defilement is flowing from there to us. Okay, that's all he's saying. So by all means, be friendly to everybody, and there is no need for us to be, living in silos as Christians. We are not monastery Christians. We are Christians who ought to be salt and light in the world, but not of the world. We should impact the world, but we should not allow the world to counter impact us in ways that will spiritually defile us. I hope that helps.